Hello, everybody. My name is Dee, but you can call me the Riddler if you like, and welcome to the Dee-cap, where I take a TTRPG actual play and condense it down into something a bit more manageable so that you can catch the latest episodes. Today, we will once again be talking about Lorelwind. Lorelwind is a homebrew D&D 5e actual play run by the lovely folks over at Gut Punch RP. If you haven't seen the first two Dee-caps for Lorelwind, which go over the prologue and Act 1 of the show, the first 48 episodes between those two videos, I'd recommend you go watch it and then come on back so you can keep pace with us. Or you can jump in right here if you want to. I don't run your life, I just run this show. So without further ado, with many gallons of drinks and so many dice, let's get into the Dee-cap. Last we left off, Scotty, our human fighter, had been Viking napped. Thusly, our party decided to split up and look for her and reconvene within an hour. They find no information on where Scotty went, but Bjorn, our human barbarian, does get invited to a cordial affair of some type, and Sullen, our fallen ASMR cleric, meets a mysterious new woman named Halsey, who helps him fend off a wraith. Unfortunately, she hasn't seen our missing Valkyrian friend, though she does decide to join Sullen for a drink back at the Jolly Roger Tavern. Back at said tavern, we find Kyola, our furbolg druid, and her partner, who are definitely keeping an eye out and not just, chilling until everyone comes back. After a bit of rumination, the party settle on the fact that Scotty is an adult and a capable one at that, and perhaps she will make her way back to the party in due time. Having rejoined everyone at the tavern, Sullen introduces Halsey, our new human rogue, while Scotty is away, to the party. Bjorn, being who Bjorn is suspicious of this new person and wary to accept their help. Eventually, Bjorn settles on sharing the basics, but not spilling all of his innermost secrets to the newcomer. What Bjorn does share, however, is the letter he received while out and about, seeing that it's an invitation of sorts to a fancy dinner of one Immaculata Vinroy, a name which no one at the table recognizes. No one, that is, except for Halsey. She reveals that she's been investigating the weird parties this person holds, following them across a few familiar cities. The invitations, however, are new and odd, and Halsey also shares with the party that based on the trail she's been following, they've just been invited to dinner with a vampire. Extending an olive branch to assuage any worries, Halsey offers to look into their missing friend after getting a description. Halsey's eyes cloud over with misty white smoke, and low rumbling of whispers can be heard if you stand close enough. After an hour of this odd channeling, she reveals not only that Scotty vanished due to a spell, but that Natasha vanished with her. The party ponders this all for a bit. They know Natasha is dangerous and powerful, but they've also helped her in the past. They decide to put everything together they can relating to Natasha and the strange way the pair disappeared. Later that evening, Halsey is out and skulking, trying to anticipate where her target will be and get ahead of them. While sneaking is careful and the guard is up, even the most consummate professionals can be surprised. A woman with a flash of auburn hair does exactly that, casting sleep on our unsuspecting rogue friend, who hears, "You really should not have pursued me," before losing consciousness. Amber, please stop getting your characters jumped. Please, please be safe once ever in your entire life. The next day, the party realized that their new traveling compatriot has been magically put to sleep and wake her up in the alleyway that she's passed out in. She explains that she was jumped and the party is glad she isn't dead, but when she checks her belongings, she notices that her hat is missing, which elicits a deep sigh, and Halsey determines that she hates this town, to which the party deeply agrees. Back at the tavern, it is revealed that Halsey is a monster hunter of sorts who works for many people and is based out of a temple to saloon. Halsey plans to report Natasha to the Temple of Saloon because of all the hinky shit she's been doing. That night, Bjorn calls up fairy godmother Vafir and asks him to try and help find Scotty. He responds in kind that he will see what he can do, but even that comes with a cost. Bjorn shakily accepts the help and offers his own as payment. Vafir toasts to mutual helping and disappears. The next morning, however, Annabelle awakens to a letter and a clutch of Kyola's belongings, with the letter only saying, "Don't die, good luck." Remembering they have a sending stone and wanting to make sure Kyola was okay, they contact her and confirm that Kyola's decision was her own, and with that, the party sits in their rooms deflated and sad. They've lost two party members in just as many days. The audience, however, sees two furbolgs walking hand in hand the shortest way out of town. As the sun rises across the veranda, we are left to wonder if we will see them again or not. The next day, the party grapples with losing two of their friends in quick succession in various ways. Some throw themselves into work, while others wait for the work to finish very anxiously. But Annabelle in particular has yet another meeting with the owl, a strange creature that's been appearing in her dreams. Feeling a need for the dream potion deep in her stomach, Annabelle strikes out on business and she promises to return soon. Finding a draft of dream potion in a shop with no doors or windows, definitely not a trap, Annabelle. You fucking goober. Luckily, she returns unscathed, but to several questions that she uncannily dodges like the rogue she is. She heads upstairs before everyone else, purposefully to take a swig of the dream potion before bed. The owl appears again within her dreams, gliding silently across the inky black background. Annabelle raspily shouts at the bird, and with every angry word, the owl sends a cocky retort, claiming that Annabelle's sister may in fact be exactly what she thinks she is deep down. Frustrated, Annabelle yells at the owl, demanding to know what the owl wants. The head on the owl rotates around, its large almond eyes uncaring and piercing before uttering a single guttural word. Destruction. Annabelle shoots awake, and even in the deepest pits of her stomach, there is no urge for another dose of that. The next day, after some recon done by Halsey into the vampires, the party heads to the dinner they've been invited to, where they meet Lady Immaculata and her nasty roommates, as she refers to them. Through some shadowy magic brought on by boredom from the lady of the house, the party finds themselves in cages with another person imprisoned alongside them. Sheer, this person, tells the party that she's been captive for 50 years despite looking not even half that old. Excited, albeit in a semi-creepy way, to see other people, Sheer watches the party closely with her deep, deep, dark eyes. Sheer also shares that she was offered no deal and is no friend of Lady Immaculata, and that she was kidnapped in a sort of familial power struggle. After finding a way out of the cells, Sheer tries to remember the possession she had on herself when she was taken prisoner half a century ago. Then, finding all of their things and preparing to fight their way out of the vampire's lair, the party decides to team up with Sheer, our new Dampier sorcerer, though the party is not aware what exactly Sheer is as of yet. Meanwhile, Scotty is unaware of how much time passed, if time passed. Her first real moment of memory is Vafir speaking to Natasha, the latter of whom looks over to Natasha and Scotty's sister. Then, oddly enough, Scotty blinks and everything feels right. Natasha strikes a deal with the Fae Vafir and strides over to Scotty, asking how she is and giving the wackest apology ever. Scotty, still slightly confused, isn't entirely sure that she has even done anything wrong. To which Natasha gives a wry smile and says, a time may come where Scotty doesn't believe that. Then she adds that the man that she is hunting for is named Gregor Isengard, and that hopefully Scotty will be able to hunt him herself. She also tells Scotty that reluctantly she can't save her sister right now, but soon, opening a portal for the Viking to travel through. Deep down, Scotty knows that something is off, but even so, she takes the letters from Natasha and tells her not to get herself killed before stepping through the portal. The last thing we as the audience see, however, is Natasha waving her hand over Scotty's sleeping sister and then slowly folding in on herself until she disappears into Scotty's sister's mind. Back with the party, they return to town after being gone for what was apparently 2 days, and Halsey makes her departure from the crew. Happy to have met them, but with more monsters to hunt, she has a stroke of luck and finds her hat on the way out of town. After a well-deserved sleep, especially for Sheer, capped with some disturbing dreams, Bjorn heads downstairs in the tavern, trying to shake off the odd nightmare he had about Scotty. Bjorn sees Scotty standing in the middle of the tavern, looking much the same as she did when he last saw her. He rushes her and hugs her tightly, feeling relief wash over him. Scotty explains that she was fairly certain she had just walked outside and doesn't see the big deal. Recognizing the voice, Annabelle barrels down the stairs and essentially tackles Scotty with a hug. The party makes their way down and Scotty explains what she does remember about what she's just been through and dealt with. In return, they update Scotty on everything with Kyola before Scotty passes out the letters from Natasha. Reading them, Scotty learns that her best bet for waking her sister up lies in the name that Natasha gave her, and if he refuses, Gregor Isengard has to be killed. The party takes a look at all the options in front of them and decides that despite having just gotten everyone back together, it might be best for them to split up and off to handle their various business across towns and cities. Now, since this is a recap, I'm not going to go over every single bit of downtime activity that we do, but I do highly suggest that if you're interested, you check out episodes 45 to 48 because it is rich with roleplay and character moments, although this video is about giving y'all the main story and not the side quests, good as they may be. So, after a whole myriad of adventures, some personal, some for coin, and some time on Pirate Island, the team unintentionally all end up in the city of Vermeer at the same time. They catch each other up and cross-reference the pieces of their individual journeys that seem to be intertwined, such as Annabelle's sister, Ellie, possibly knowing Scotty's quarry, Gregor. Sullen points out the odd happenstance that they all found themselves individually drawn to the same city. Even the mysterious Sheer, who was singing a semi-haunting, semi-beautiful song at the time this question was posed. Scotty ponders aloud why everyone is coming to Port Vermeer, wondering what exactly is here. Bjorn simply shrugs and suggests the only thing that makes sense to him: fate. As Bjorn says these words, the bright noonday sky casting light over the port city vanishes. The entire city is plunged into night, the moon out and full, and stars twinkling. Suddenly, and only the audience sees this, shrouded in a black cloak, Ellie, Annabelle's sister, is concentrating on an orb in her hands as dark as midnight itself. The party lights their immediate vision, and Bjorn suggests they fast-track the plan to find Gregor. The citizens begin to hold their children close and hurry home, closing up shop in the wake of everything going wild. The party also remembers, during their downtime, hearing mention of something called the Rolling Darkness. And heeding those warnings, they resolve to cast protective spells to keep themselves safe. This proves to be the right call, as the party encounters large swaths of monstrosities that seem to have summoned out of the dark abyss. Fighting along the way, eventually the party meets back up with Captain Jasper, and Annabelle tries to reach out and warn her, but she can't seem to hear them from as far away as the party is. More monstrosities appear and another fight ensues. The party also sees Jasper fending off a few by herself. As the party finishes off their enemies, Annabelle watches as Captain Jasper, with expertise, finishes off her foe and then turns, finally spotting the party. Yelling out to her former crewmate, she starts to make her way forward, moving with intent. This momentum is short-lived, however, as a cruel blow to the back of the head is struck with a sickening crack. And there, standing over the crumpled body of the captain, clad in gleaming black plate mail that shines even within the darkness of the city, and staring up at her sister Annabelle with cold, piercing eyes, is Ellie. Asmodeus, oh shit, he's back after 44 episodes, rounds the corner, asking if Ellie has gotten what they need. Ellie reaches down and fills a vial of blood, dismissing her sister's pleading screams entirely. She then asks if the pair of them can leave before Gregor catches up. Speaking of the devil, he arrives, Gregor growling that the three of them, Asmodeus, Ellie, and himself, need to get to the keep and keep moving. Finally, responding to the constant calls from her sister, Ellie tells Annabelle that it was around the 3rd year when she stopped waiting for her sister to come back. Annabelle apologizes and says she doesn't know what happened and asks what happened to her. Ellie shrugs and responds simply, I learned to take care of myself. Whoosh! A wall of blades divide the two parties, the two sisters. Annabelle scrambles to the body of the captain. Sullen casts Spare the Dying as the three villains make their escape, but it is too late. Captain Jasper lays slain on the ground, and the party takes some time to console Annabelle. This moment of peace, however, is interrupted as more monstrosities begin to form out of the shadow and darkness. Scotty grabs Annabelle's hand and tells her that they have to move. And it is just then, as a wall of fire separates the party and the encroaching monsters, as Hazel and Blaze, the same person who gave them the important tip about the rolling darkness, join the party. Annabelle is healed and also blessed with guidance as the party assures her that they always have her back. And thusly, they set out. As more of the summoned creatures swarm the streets of Port Vermeer, the party swings by the Jolly Roger to pick up their horses, and outside of town a somber burial is held for Captain Jasper Branson. After giving their respects, the party begins to go over their own maps to try and figure out what keep Gregor mentioned Ellie and her crew were heading toward, while also learning that Hazel is a bit of an uppity dick. As they continue, they notice in the distance, moving toward the keep outside of Port Vermeer, Luna, Breezy, and Mari, aka the saloon crew. Also, it turns out that Luna is an aunt of Shear's, who's very relieved to find out that Shear is in fact not dead. Well, kinda not dead, but none of the characters but Shear know that at the moment. Explaining their current situation, Luna convinces Mari to open a portal to the Dark Star Forest, which will not be able to get them exactly there, but will considerably cut down on travel time. Unfortunately, the party are portaled through a library and swiftly arrested by the town's current warlord, a woman named Glenora, or at least attempted to be arrested. The party, however, has shit to do and has no time to do another jailbreak, so a fight ensues. Glenora crushes on Bjorn during the course of the fight. Sexy Viking strikes again, and after some horrendously powerful shots and a few fireballs being thrown around, the party manages to escape, and they ride north as far as they can. Tired and honestly just morally exhausted by how chaotic and grim the past few hours have been, the party's burnt out. However, Bjorn pushes a message of hope, saying there's nothing wrong with staying optimistic. In fact, it's crucial. As night falls, the team begins looking for camp, Shear being sure to get rid of the hoof tracks they've been leaving on their horses. After finding some odd things in the woods, Scotty very quickly tells everyone not to interact with a circle she's found, assuming that it is a fey doorway of some kind. Bjorn, however, is curious as to whether or not the whole deal is an illusion, and gingerly tosses a rock at a tree, and a loud boom rings out, knocking everyone backwards. 4 of the traveling trope fall unconscious, and there is a deep, well-worn sigh that comes from the awake members of the party, but eventually they manage to bed down for camp. Unfortunately, this sleep is for some reason not as restful as the party would have liked, and when they awake, they are most certainly no longer in the Dark Star Forest. Yes, indeed, children, our party has once again found themselves in quite the Feywild-esque situation, but not in the Feywild proper. They travel along, making a new friend in a goblin named Nock, and decide that fairy godmother Vafir might be a good fallback plan to get home if they can't figure out a way there themselves. We learn that Shear is the middle of 12 siblings, and that said siblings love to engage in sword fighting, weird pranks, and, by her grandmother's consideration, ruining the family name. It was expected of them to learn diplomacy and international affairs and the like. During a session of trading stories and sending messages, Annabelle, with the help of Sullen, sends a message to Ellie, their secret emergency help me code. Ellie, however, responds that there must be a blood moon out, because one hell of a storm is brewing, and I'm bringing it. As the message is delivered, the sky goes red and the moon washes to the copper tones of a blood moon. During watches that night, however, the moon not only returns to normal, but Sheer and Annabelle swear they can see movement off in the distance. Thanks to some real high rolls, the pair notice that they're humanoid shapes they see, and are actually shuffling zombies that the party has to begin clearing out before resetting their camp. After doing more sharing of information, the party learns that the keep is quite a ways down and they'll need a rope, among other things. They also learn that Asmodeus has become more powerful than he was before. Bjorn takes this moment to point out that the party is dangerously low on supplies in general, but with the promise of something valuable from the party, they may be able to squeeze something out of the Fey Prince. Vafir is called and appears, saying that it will need to be a hefty price, considering that while the material plane is nice, he certainly could manage without it. He offers to get the party within a few days of the right keep, a long rest, and possibly other benefits, though he can do nothing about the health potions. He's not made of money, okay, guys? Like, geez, what do you expect him to do? He's trying his best. He's not trying his best. He could do a lot more. Scotty steps up and offers some of her magic and her ring, feeling the need to pay back the party for everything they sacrificed to get her back. The deal is made and accepted, with no one except Vafir feeling particularly great about it. But Scotty tries to remain positive and keep the spirits of everyone as high as they can. The next morning, the party awakens in the middle of the Darkstar Forest with their horses, able to see about half a day's journey to a big hole. Bjorn points out they are closer than they thought they would be, while Sheer retorts that keeps are usually above ground and not stuck in an ominous hole. Scotty also peeks into her bag and finds a superior health potion and smiles internally. Fairy godmother Vafir still seems to have a soft spot for the party. Investigating the hole, they estimate that it is about a 200-foot drop, and while debating the best way down, a portal opens near the party. Stepping through, there is a form, clad in black furs, capped with a whitish collar. Gregor Isengard looks upon the party stoically, remarking upon seeing Scotty that she must be the sister. Gregor casually suggests that the party make haste. Asmodeus is already down there and setting up whatever he has plans to entail. Gregor summons more zombies, and Blaze, along with Hazel, step forward, summoning a wall of force between the thralls, Gregor, and themselves, telling the party that they will hold off Gregor and to go take care of the keep. Not having time to discuss a safer way to do it, the party jumps into the darkness, hurtling toward shattered bits of rock and slate at terminal velocity, with Scotty casting Featherfall before they land. Eventually, after landing in the dank quietness, the party marches forward. Inside, it is dark, but even those with dark vision cannot seem to see. Even stranger still, the interference with their vision doesn't seem to be magical somehow. The party continues down a hallway and around a corner, just barely stopping themselves from tumbling down into a pit of acid. Just barely, that is, except for Scotty. Scotty tumbles down toward the acid, and Annabelle reaches out trying to save her party member, but unfortunately just drags herself down with the Viking. The two tumble into the acid, splashing painfully, but thinking quickly, Scotty chucks her halfling friend up to Bjorn's outstretched hand and manages to misty step herself back to safety, looking worse for wear indeed. Not the best start. Managing to continue through, the party comes across a room that projects images or maybe memories from the party members as they walk through. Remembering that Hazel mentioned there were artifacts in some of the locations shown to her, Bjorn ponders what the artifacts that keep recurring have to do with the keep they stand in today. After being harried by a metallic arachnid creature of some type, the party finds a set of footprints and decides to track them. Following them through, the party finds a few barrels of supplies, among which are cultist capes from the cult of Shar, and thanks to some fashionable spells, the party takes them along. Bjorn then relays to the party that the visions he thought were projected across the room seem to not only be localized to him, but haven't stopped since they've advanced past the room. They are visions of a man named Keegan, someone the party encountered in another keep. You can watch Dee-cap episode 1 to understand why I put quotations around the word encountered. Continuing on, Bjorn also mentions that Scotty's given hammer was found in a keep, and it was also in his vision of Keegan. It's possible that Scotty's hammer is one of these god-killer artifact weapons. Not only that, but maybe they'll find another of these god-killer weapons here somewhere. Annabelle explains that way back when Mirabelle thought it was the keep itself that corrupted Keegan, perhaps the keeps are associated with Shar, and maybe that has something to do with the whole situation. Suddenly, the party hears a trio of cultists around a corner that have definitely heard them, and when they go to check it out, the party uses their capes to avoid confrontation, but have to beeline in the other direction to avoid further suspicion. This, however, leads them to a room with creepy cultists being creepy and chanting in a room. Using a mixture of magic and good old-fashioned Viking intimidation, the party attempt to force one of the cultists to help them, but these cultists have quite a grim backup plan in case such a thing occurred, and the cultist resolves to take their own life rather than betraying Shar. The next room they enter is full of not only more cultists, but also this odd purplish smoke. A fight ensues, and even with their dying breaths, the cultists continue to chant. The party manages to come out on top, but the strength-sapping attacks the cultists launched, at Scotty in particular, are starting to take their true toll. Scotty's hammer is too heavy to hold, and her armor feels like an impossible albatross. Under duress and much prodding from Big Sister Annabelle, the Vikings and the rest of the party take a rest to recover as best they can. As they continue to search, they eventually come across more visions, in this case, Scotty being the one who sees them, which causes her to ponder if the keep has ended up in the Shadowfell, or if the veil is thinning between the material plane and the Shadowfell. Scotty is then struck with another vision, this one of Muriel, the woman Scotty has been seeing many times throughout this keep, a proud warrior that managed to stave off this encroaching darkness for days. Finding a cache of her former equipment in the room that became her tomb, Scotty dons the armor after giving it a bit of shine. Scotty tells the party she will be proud to continue the legacy of such a warrior, and that perhaps she will get some amount of peace knowing the party is attempting to stop the destructive ritual of Shar. This task, however, is proving easier said than done. The party is ear-deep in enemy territory. There are combats around every corner, and only just barely enough time to rest and recuperate. Multiple knockdowns, sporadic diseases, vampires, zombie beholders, cultists. The party just barely manages to make it back to the room Muriel was in, and they come to the very hard decision that they have to take a full rest. If they die before they get to the core of the keep, it's all for naught anyway. The tense rest commences, and who would appear within Annabelle's dream but the owl once more? The owl offers power, as it always does, but this offer is a magnitude greater indeed. The owl claims it will give Annabelle her memories back, as well as the power to find and stop Ellie, perhaps preserving what little time they have left together. And after 57 motherfucking episodes, Annabelle finally gives in and accepts the owl's deal. And she remembers. Finally, she remembers. A creature, much like Helga the Hag, descends on Riptide's fortune, abducting Ellie with Annabelle chasing quickly behind through a portal. She spends days, maybe weeks, locked within a cage. Ellie manages to slip her sister something metal that's crafted into a very crude lockpick. The hag returns, and the sisters are forced to run toward the strange archway within the hag's keep. Annabelle realizes what these are, and understanding they are portals, rushes through one with Ellie in her hand. Then, in a grungy, muck-ridden city, a woman with 2 daggers shrouded in a cloak approaches, a small smile curling across the lips as she walks. You know, it's weird that you're here, but this is not the right time. You've done this before, and you may do it again. Confused by the odd ramblings, Annabelle tells the lady to fuck off and looks for an exit, noticing a ship that looks like it could be Riptide's fortune. It's only then that Annabelle realizes that she and her sister are surrounded. Ellie lets a shrill scream go as Annabelle is stabbed by the cloaked woman, and suddenly, Annabelle is floating in the water. Looking at her reflection, she feels herself float for, well, forever. An eternity passes as she floats across the open water. She feels herself behind herself. She begins to panic, and then sees herself panic, swimming away, down, further and further and further, until there she is again, stabbing herself. The deal is done. You can find her. She's after the keeps. The owl muses. Deep within the void, Annabelle drops to her knees, crying as the visage of the owl fades away. Annabelle glows, the eyes shooting open, her very veins pulsing with eldritch energy. The colors pulsate through the water as it floods into Annabelle's eyes, throat, and mouth. The tears streaming become torrents of water, not dissimilar to the water she has swam in so many dreams. Annabelle feels herself drowning, fading away in the void. And then gasps deeply as she shoots awake, alone. The next morning, as the group arises, the nervous energy among them is clear. They prepare as best they can before venturing once more into the dungeon. Eventually, they come unto another door, behind which they hear a leader of the cultists rallying his troops for when the party appears. The fight ensues, and reinvigorated by their rest, the party manages to clean them out, but not before a cultist gives them the grim news that supposedly the ritual was completed while they slept. Cackling through blood and broken teeth, that even at their best, the party stands no chance against what they are heading toward. But regardless, the party continues on. And they come to a door that Annabelle checks and is surprised to learn is not trapped. Then, a booming voice echoes through the room saying, "You may as well come in. You're already too late." The door opens to reveal the familiar form of Asmodeus, with an orb of magic energy surrounding him. Tendrils of shadow begin to disappear into the void. The party leaps into action, slinging spells and swinging steel to try and sever the tethers where they can. But while Asmodeus does take damage, he moves with an unyielding confidence. Even as Bjorn takes him down with his axe, the wicked smile never leaves his lips. As the evil man crumples to the ground, seemingly dead, Bjorn sees why. Materializing out of the shadow, with this long, teeth-filled snout and elongated arms with disproportionately long feet and fingers, its black eyes devoid of emotion or logic, one of the Sorrowsworn looks down to Bjorn and screeches. The battle explodes into its second stage, with this Sorrowsworn capable of teleportation, casting of spells, the manipulation of negative energy, and even summoning other shadow creatures as well as minions. The battle is hard fought, but our heroes do indeed manage to slay the creature of nightmares and shadows. Managing to get some loot and important papers as they backtrack out of the keep, the party also notices that things are eerily quiet and empty. Along the way, they stumble upon Hazel, pulling a near-dead Blaze, whom the party manages to heal, as Hazel begins to draw up a teleportation circle so they can finally leave this dark, dark place. As the circle is drawn, the adrenaline finally begins to fade, Heals and thanks are shared and extended between the party, and the question is posed, have we done it? A weary voice replies, for now. And another adds, barely. The portal is opened, and our party finally escape the Dark Star Keep. And that's it. Well, that's not it. The wonderful thing about Lorelwind is that it's still going. So many things happened in this chunk of episodes. Good fucking lord. After some time being pirates, we got back to the main story thread, and me oh my, were the bad guys busy in our absence. In my notes, I called this chunk of episodes, What the Fuck, Jess? Because, what the fuck, Jess? What was your favorite moment in this arc? Let me know down below in the comments, and if you want to catch the latest episode of Lorelwind, you always can at 7:30 EST on twitch.tv/gutpunchrp. And if you want to save more time, click that bell so you can stay up to date for when the next Dee-cap drops. Once again, thank you so much for watching. My name is Dee, and this has been the Dee-cap. Until the next time I see you, be good people.